Hi guys, welcome back to the Stoop Tea. So my name is Rosa Enid.
And I am Liz Santana. Rosa, you kind of didn't know you'd remember your name in that room. I didn't remember your name.
I was like,
I think I'm gonna have to, moving forward, as we come back, I'm gonna have to introduce us because you forgetting the rhythm, okay? The whole rhythm.
you looked like a deer caught in the headlights there when you were looking at me like, what's happening?
What? She got lost again.
When we do the podcast, it's like the end of the day. So our brains are like probably not even
Fried. They're
100%.
fried. It's okay. I get it. Look, listen, we were just talking before we started this. We were just talking about I was talking about how busted I think I look in the videos. Like, I kind of look back at our videos and I'm like, ooh, excuse the bustedness. Like, you can tell I don't care. You can tell at that point, I'm just like, let's do this. I got to speak my mind. We got to go.
We're like, it's the end of the day. Let's get it done.
Look, listen, it be what it be. You know, it is what it is. Excuse the hot mess I be looking. But you know what? That don't even matter. Just listen to what I got to say. That's it.
Speaking of being busted, because you talk about how we always look crazy in the podcast. I will say that one thing I am glad of is that my mom doesn't watch our podcast, because if she did, all she would say is, mira, nena, tú pareces una loca en ese podcast, do your hair or something.
My mother too, stop. My mother be like, what? Y tú te grabas así, Willie. She'd be like, what? You record yourself like that, girl? Mm-mm.
When I finished doing the show, I went to go visit my mom. Since I drove, I actually stopped in Orlando to visit her. So I'm at her house. Mind you, that day I had gotten rained on, poured, so my hair was a hot mess already.
You just look a hot mess.
I looked a hot mess. But
you look like what the fuck?
It didn't matter. I had finished the show and all I wanted to do was get on the road and get to her house so that, finish my day. I get to her house and of course, I don't know why mothers just always find what the flaw is for some reason. She's like,
they don't find what the flaw is. They seek the flaws. You know what I'm saying? Like, you walk through the door and they just already like this, looking at you, and you just like, what? I just got what? Hi, how you been? I haven't seen you in a couple months, and they just like, yeah. And you just looking at them like, I don't know if it's only Hispanic mothers that put their kids through this, but I know my mom is just the same. I walk through the door and she's already eyeballing me. De arriba abajo, up and down.
So I walk in the door and she's like, ay, tú estás gorda, you've put on some weight. I'm like, what? Which I already knew, obviously, but it's like,
okay, right, you feel it. You're like the first one to know.
That's not the first thing that you have to say to me once you see me.
And let me tell you guys, I know Rosa's mom personally. I know Rosa because she's the original Rosa. Rosa number
I'm Rosa Jr.
Yeah, she's Rosa Jr. I know the original, and she will tell. Like, I remember when I was little, Rosa's mom used to roast me. She'd be like, "Ay, Katy, tú eres una bolita." And that means for all our listeners who are not Spanish and don't understand Spanish, that means I look like a little butterball. That's what she used to tell me. That sounds horrible when you translate that in English. In Spanish, it doesn't sound that bad. It sounds kind of like cute or whatever. But in English, you translate that, you're just like, what did she just say to you? It's great. So I know what Rose is talking about.
Yeah. So okay. So she makes she said I gained weight comment, which whatever. I knew I gained weight. I'm like, let it go. Then the next one is the next day she tells me, you really have to start working out again on your arms, because si no se te van a poner así, mira, van a estar peor que los míos. Like the
arms. Your arms are going to be flabby?
Well, I guess our family gene, when you get older, your arms tend to get flabby or something. So she's trying to say, like, if you want to avoid looking like the side of the family or something, work on it. I don't know. Then she tells me, as the day goes on, she tells me, wow, you were working with those people. I thought your hair would have looked a lot nicer. And I'm like, Mom, like I literally was caught in the rain yesterday. Like, and I'm tired. Like, I don't really give a fuck about what I look like right now. So
She's reckless. She don't care. She does not care. She's like, well, I'm letting you know, because just in case la gente de la calle no te lo está diciendo, yo te lo estoy diciendo. Just in case people from the street missed it, I'm telling you, you look busted.
Of course, I'm like, whatever, let it go. What really like when I was like, enough's enough is when we're getting ready because we're gonna go out. I'm gonna take her shopping. I was like, let's go. I'll take you to buy some stuff. You know, I haven't seen you in a
Right.
while. And I get dressed, and then she's like, she touches my stomach and she goes, Ay, tú tienes esa barriga dura. Are you sure you're not pregnant? And I'm like, obviously I'm
Stop.
not pregnant, but
Stop.
it's like,
Stop.
it's more like I took it as obviously an insult. Like she's trying to say, like, my stomach looks a little big.
I would have taken everything that me and my mother would have been fighting, like fighting. I would have taken everything your mom said to you in offense. Like, what is wrong with you? I
Yeah.
mean, I'm kidding. I would never fight my mom would whoop my butt. But and I would never be disrespectful like that to her. I be telling my mom, I'd be like, Mom, what's wrong with you? Like, slow it down. You're a little too feisty today. Slow it down.
When I get mad, it happens even when I was younger. When I would get mad at my mom, I would just
Yeah.
ignore her or not talk to her and put a face, you know. And I learned that from her, obviously, because growing up, whenever she'd be mad at my dad, what does she do? Ignore him. But point being, I'm like mad. You could tell I'm mad. And she's like,
Right.
"Oh, pero porque tú tienes esa cara? Like, why are you upset all of a sudden?" And I'm like, I'm
Did
upset
you just
because
hear what were you acknowledgeable what you just said? Like,
yes. So
oh
I
my
like
God.
blew up. And I think this is the first time I've ever like brought this up to my mom. And I was like, I'm upset because you just insulted me and you're acting like nothing is wrong. Like what you said is really hurtful. And she's like, well, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I mentioned everything that she had said that weekend. And then she stood
That
quiet.
bothered you. That bothered
Yes.
you. Like that. Okay.
She stood quiet for like 5 minutes. And then she goes, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like be hurtful or whatever, which is the first time my mom, I think, has ever
Aw.
apologized to me too. Cause my mom's the type
Right,
of person
right.
that it's like, you never talk back. Your mother's always right. A parent never apologizes. So that was the first time that I heard her apologize. So I was like, okay, like as a parent, are you really not aware when you say certain things to your kids?
I could tell you. All right, so let's get into it. I'm a parent. Everybody knows I'm a parent. So I'm a parent to an 11-year-old and I'm a parent to a 4-year-old. And I have an 11-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy. And I have my girly stages, you know. I like before I used to be more girly. Now I'm just like, nah, I'm a mom. So it's like I put on sneakers and keep walking. But before I was like really, really girly. So my daughter obviously picked that up. Like she likes makeup, she likes to do her hair. And it's not because she's my kid, but she's really, really pretty. And I get told that all the time. So sometimes, you know, everybody's body is different. And sometimes her hair, like if she goes 2 days without washing it, um, her hair gets really greasy at the top because her hair is very fine and very thin. And I'll tell her, I'll be like, hey, when you washing the hair, it stinks. You look like a bum. Like you look busted. Those are things that sound very similar to what your mom is saying to you, right?
But why,
So
why do you think it's
I don't
okay to
tell
say
it
those things to her?
because I feel like, first of all, I'm the type of parent that I'm very adamant about this. Like I feel very strongly about this. I prefer to look busted in the street. Like I look a hot mess and I'm okay with that. But my kids, never. Like my kids could never look busted. And I know she's growing up in this new generation where sweatpants is in, baggy clothes is in, and that's what she likes. But because number one, I grew up in a generation where that wasn't it. Like you had to dress to the nines from the moment you walked out your door. And because my mom taught us that, like we were dressed to the nines always, even from young. Because my mom, obviously, I picked that trait up from my mother.
Mhm.
So now, like, with my kid, there's obviously like new styles and stuff like that. And she's a kid, she wants to be comfortable. But since I was raised that way, it's kind of like a habit. And there was a saying that my mom always used to tell me, El que quiere moño bonito aguanta jalones. It means like if you want pretty hair, you gotta hold on to the pulls and the this and the that.
Ugh, I hated
So
that saying. That would always be so painful.
right? And you would, and if you didn't stay still, you was getting slapped with the brush on top of your head. That hurt. I mean, excuse me, that hurt. I say all that to say this. I was raised to like the moment you walk outside your house, you need to look presentable. You need to look good. And I feel comfortable telling my kid that because I'm her parent. Like I feel like I'd rather tell her than have somebody in the street be like, oh, look at that kid, or look at that little girl. Oh, look at her hair is all greasy. Or even she's 11, she's in junior high school. So I don't want her friends to be like, oh, Julia, why your hair look like that? It's all greasy.
I think that by you actually pushing those things on her, you're actually kind of making her a little bit insecure.
You think so? Oh my
The
God.
only reason you're concerned about what other people think is because our parents were concerned with what other
Right.
people
It's a
thought.
force of habit. It is. It is. It
So
really is.
you're inflicting this kind of trait of being insecure and always worry about how you look to your daughter, which is not fair because as a
Yes.
human being, as a mom, you're not perfect 24/7. You're not always dressed up nice. So how think about that expectation that you're putting on your kid, that pressure of if you don't look nice, you're nothing or you're ugly. You
You know,
know?
I've never really thought about it like that. Now that you say that, like from hearing it from an adult's perspective, obviously, I never really looked at it like that. I never really saw it like that because I didn't, obviously, like there's no malintention behind it. I don't think any sane parent would like want to hurt their kids' feelings intentionally.
Yeah,
I know I don't.
I
So
know.
I've never looked at it the way that you're looking at it. You know what I mean? Like I never thought about it that far.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my mom would tell me like I would be offended. I'd be like, mom, but it was just something that like with age, it's kind of like it wore off. And in a sense, it made me have thicker skin. The way I thought about it was because when I got bullied in school. Well, not that much because afterwards I don't want to say I became the bully, but I started beating up my bullies. So that was, it was short, but it was short. I used to get told that I was fat and all this stuff when I was a kid. But for me, it was more tolerable. In Latin culture, is accustomed to like when you say oh mi gordita is like it's a loving way of saying
It's
my chunky
endearment.
girl,
Yeah, it's a
right?
form
It's
of endearment.
endearment.
Mhm.
Or like if somebody's dark skin, my mom's dark skin, you say mi morena or mi negra or mi negrita or mi
Yeah.
negro, like that. So it's a form of endearment. It's not necessarily racist when at least the way I was raised, it's not racist at all. So my mom used to be like, oh, mi gordita, or my father would be like, oh, mi gordita. So it was never like, or mi pelotita. And my grandma used to call me pelota. Or like, my grandpa used to call me pelota. So it was just things that like I was raised with. So it never really like, how could I tell you? Like it helped me have thicker skin, point blank. In Latin cultures, we make fun of each other. Like it's just in our culture. You know what I mean? Like
I get it, and I know it feels like that at some point. I mean, especially when you're a kid, but I really think that it affects your self-esteem and it affects how you look at the
it
world.
could. I'm sure. Look, listen, we have our conscious and we have
And
our subconscious, right?
mind you, I'm a
Yeah.
grown ass woman that just finished working and I'm like tired at home. Like there's no need for you to keep saying those type of things to me. Like
Yeah,
what's the
that's true.
purpose of that? You
Or
know?
kind of like I feel you because it's kind of like I know you don't gotta remind me, don't tell me kind of thing. Like I don't want to hear it. Kind of. I know what
Exactly.
you mean. I know what
And
you
it's
mean.
like you're the last person I want to hear from. But and it's always been like that. Like even my sister, I remember my sister one time cut her hair really short. And my
Uh,
mom told her the one thing my mom said to her is that haircut makes you look old.
yo, she's a savage.
But
Like,
it's like, but and
yeah,
not to
I
bash
can't.
my mother. I love my mom. She's a really great, kind person,
No, she's beautiful. She's a
very
beautiful
caring.
person.
But
It's just
this
her
is the
mouth
thing.
has no filter.
Yes, her mouth has no my dad too. My dad has like no filter. Like you remember, my dad would just say straight up whatever's on his head and doesn't care what anybody thinks.
Every to this day,
I
he sees me in the
think
street. Uy, Katiria, tú estás bien gorda. He
yeah,
tells me,
I'm like
and I'm
this
just like, oh hey, hey, how are you?
And it's like you get, I
I
guess
just
they
laughed it
call
off.
it vergüenza ajena. Like when my dad tells you that, like growing up, I'm like ashamed. Like you have no shame. Like,
Yeah.
and for me, I
Yeah,
always
yeah,
thought
yeah.
like that's affecting. I always thought that that would affect your self esteem because he's over here saying like that you look fat or something. You know, so it's.
Right, right.
I always think about that and how that stuff has negative traits.
I'm sure at some point in my childhood, my mom and my dad have said something to me that's like I that offended me and made me feel bad and kind of like
Mhm.
gave me a complex. But I don't know, like I've never really thought about it that deep. You know what I mean? So I can't tell you that I can relate to what you're saying, but I can tell you that I understand what you're saying. Once we finish this episode, or like once we finish recording, I'm gonna think about what you said as like from a parent's perspective, and I'm gonna put a lot of thought into it because I'm that type of person, and I'm gonna be more like I think I'm gonna try and be more careful on how I say things because maybe that you know what, I think you're right. With time I've learned that it's a good trait to have no filter. However, it can also be like it can be a double-edged sword. And sometimes when you have no filter, you could give off the wrong impression because you have no filter. As a parent, I have no filter. Like I will tell my kids how it is. If they're doing something, I will tell them. Like if they look hurt, I'm gonna tell them. But that's because of me as a person, and also because I feel like it's important for me to, as a parent, to tell them what's going on. My mom used to always say, "La enseñanza empieza de la casa." So like so translating that to English is like your lessons and your learning start from home. And I feel like if I can't, I have to be honest in my own home with my own children. However, and I was explaining that to say this. However, I do feel like it is important to have a filter, to filter things that you say, because or filter how it comes out or how you say it,
Or think of
because it
another way to say it.
right,
You're
right,
wording
right.
it.
Right. Or be like, ooh, let's go do your hair. Or maybe you don't have to necessarily like just because you have no filter doesn't mean that you can just let it come out. You blur like you have word vomit. You
Mhm.
could just be like, oh baby, do you want to go do your hair? Or come on, let's go wash your hair. I want to do something on your hair. Or like, you know, something, have a different approach. It
Exactly.
doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have to be honest. You could still be honest, but with a different approach. And
Mhm.
I'm learning that as an adult. Like I'm still learning, still learning. But now that you say that, you know, it got me thinking as a parent, like, damn, maybe I am creating a complex in my own kid's mind. Cause I could tell you, like, she when her hair is dirty, like she has a strong odor from her scalp. And I've now that I think about it, I'm like, oh girl, your hair stinks. But it's just it coming out.
Okay, but
And
how
now that
would
I'm
you okay, another thing, think about this. How would you like her partner or a friend telling her that and not you? Like you would be
right,
ready to beat
I never
somebody's
thought about
ass.
it.
So then why is it
Right.
okay for
Or
you
they'd
to
make
say
her
that?
cry. That would make her cry coming from someone else. Like for
Yeah.
me, she expects it. But coming from someone else, it would probably make her cry. And I mean, she's told me, she's like, oh, stop. But I never like now that you're saying these things is making me reflect on times that I've told her.
Yeah.
And she's kind of like gave me signs like I'm creating a complex. And I've never realized that because now she's like really picky about what kind of shampoo she buys.
Mhm.
Because if the shampoo doesn't like make her hair smell good, or like it doesn't wash her hair right, or it doesn't last long or whatever, she won't buy it, or she'll just like she won't use it anymore.
And parents are human, you know, and you know what's probably
We make
happening?
mistakes.
You guys
We
make
don't
mistakes,
realize.
but you guys probably my mom is doing something she learned from one of her parents or that
Yes.
she learned it from somewhere.
Me.
So
Me.
she's and then she does it to her kids because she thinks that that's how it's supposed to be. And
Right.
and realistically, I think at the end of the day, she means well. Like she's trying to tell me, like, hey, you should really fix your hair so it looks nice, or you're still young, you're pretty. Why do you look like that? Or but instead of
Right.
coming out and asking me, like, hey, what's going on? Why is your hair a mess? Or why have you gained weight? Are you okay? What's going on in your life? They hit you with these just very snarky, mean comments that
And you're just like, whoa.
Yeah,
Stop. Like,
and what could be a nice conversation between you and your mom ends up being a
an
you
argument or a disagreement or like you being annoyed.
or me getting mad and not, I don't want
Yeah.
to take you shopping now because you made me mad.
Stay your ass on the couch.
Yeah, so I think parents should just be more aware of those things that they say. Like for example, you're already saying and reflecting on things you've said to her that
Yeah,
you're
I'm
like, oh my
reflecting. Like,
God.
I'm sure within those 5 minutes that your mom stood silent, it's because she was reflecting on what she was saying and she felt bad. Because I mean, don't get it twisted. Like, we will feel bad too. Like, the moment that you tell us that, because again, we're not saying it with any malintention. We're just like we want you to be good. We want you to look good. We tell you for your own good. So when you tell us like, hey, this is not good, like you're making me feel bad, like worse than what I felt. That's kind of like when you're just like, oh wait, well, as a parent, I know I'd be like, wait, that's not what I meant. That's not how I was trying to say. It came out wrong. I'm thinking like, damn, how many times have I done that to make her feel that way or to make her like, alter who she is or how she is because of what I said to her. Like, we all have memories from the past that scar us, just because they're not physical scars, there can be um emotional scars. And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, I would hate as a parent, I hate to think about the fact that I am one of the reasons why she's scarred.
Yeah.
And it's just like it's not intentional. So I'm sure I know what your mom feels. Like, she feels guilt now. Like, because now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, damn, I have mom guilt because I'm like, damn, I'm not trying to hurt my kid like that.
But at least you're like realizing it and you're not being like, oh, it is what it is. I'm doing it for her own good. You're realizing like, oh man, there's something that I need to work on and you're going to work on it. And you have time. She's 11, right? She still has time. You have time to fix those things. And you just got to, like you said, think of your approach with her.
Yeah, you're right. I am.
And parents, everyone makes mistakes, guys. We're humans. We just need to know where do we go from here? What do we do now? How do we fix it?
Right.
And yeah, we could go on for days and hours talking about how much our parents damaged us, but we're gonna end we're gonna we're gonna end the episode here. Oh my God, that sounded so bad because our parents are great. We love them. They are really good parents. But we're just saying,
they're the great people that we are because of them. We may have our flaws. We're not perfect, but yeah, right.
but I know a lot of people can relate to this. If you do, let us know in the comments or send us an email, or better yet, if you don't agree with what we said, or if you have another story you want to share, let us know.
Tell us why.
Tell us
why you don't agree with us.
You can email us at askus@stooptea.com, or you can send us a message on Instagram or TikTok. And we appreciate you all. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Bye.
Bye.